This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to Dr. TSPR show. This is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello, and a warm welcome to another series of Pandemic Era 2 with Dr. Gautam Das. He clearly states, I am just a physician from Kolkata. But I do not know whether he is a physician, but he is trying to shake the world and my channel gets blocked as and when he repeats. And why? He is trying to deal with real information which every citizen should own it up, understand, and once you understand what is real and what is not, then every citizen will be able to decide about his right to life and right to health. That is why he takes so much of pain to come out logistically, legally very clear with evidences. And he's a doctor by profession from Kolkata. Such huge effort goes, believe me, for every show. And such a gentleman, when he comes on the show and when he reiterates everything in larger public interest, the videos are being suppressed by YouTube, Twitter, and all these social media platforms. What are their governments doing? America, which watches and speaks about freedom of expression, are they trying to curb that real freedom? Or they are trying to impose the freedom, in the name of freedom, the vested interest, lobbyist agenda? That is why we have been trying to bring out very clear information. Again, as we have told you, we have released a flyer much earlier, and after which we are going live. Dr. Gautam Das, one word so that I'll start playing the PPT. How do you look at this scenario? Our videos being pulled down, channels being blocked. How do you look at this scenario? Don't you think they are panicking?
Maybe. Can that could be a reason that we are reaching to the people.
Yes.
Okay.
That could be this. Yeah, play the
take
PPT.
to our program.
Yeah. Because he takes so much of effort, believe me, in trying to and such a lovely, again, this is very clear, attack on our body and right to life. Who plots and who can save us? This is, no individual can be forced to be vaccinated. Supreme Court of India, after a long deliberation on 2nd May, I think, they have come out 15 months into the trial, first dose, second dose, third dose, boosters have been going around, and ultimately they come out stating that no individual can be forced to be vaccinated, Supreme Court of India. And then, is it attack on our body and right to life being planned, plotted by someone who is it? And who can save us? If who is plotting and who can save us? That is the beauty of the title, which Dr. Gautam Das himself will explain us. I'm going to enlarge this on the screen. Just watch it. Oh, again, I've come back. One second, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay.
This I'll put it to a side. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Dear viewers, we are bringing before you a series of presentations under the name Pandemic Era. Why is it so named? Because we believe we are living through an era of medical imperialism, in which the whole empire is built on the notion of perpetual pandemic. This is episode 2. Today's our topic is attack on our body and right to life. Who plots? Who can save us? This is divided into 2 parts. In part 1, we'll be dealing with who plots. Let's get started. Next. Next.
Yeah, theatrics and reality.
Yes. Two.
Yeah, it is there, sir. It is there on the screen. It's coming slowly.
Okay. Here are 2 pictures taken on the same day, within few hours apart. On the left, it appears there is an unbridgeable gap between these 2 men. After few hours, and this was due to social distancing, so-called social distancing. After few hours, Mr. Tedros is visibly in a hurry to close the gap, to reach to the heart of the power. You know why he was in hurry? Because next day he went back to Geneva and declared COVID-19 as a fake public health emergency of international concern on 30th January 2020. So from the very beginning, it is very clear that there is a thin veil of difference between the theatrics and reality. Next. Here is Mr. Tedros wearing a colorful mask. You know, recent Bangladeshi randomized trial has clearly showed that cloth masks do not work. They do not prevent infection or transmission. But our question is, can a mask of many colors hide the blatant lies? Why? Because this man, the WHO boss, has been putting lies before the people of the world from the very beginning. First, he declared fake when there were only 171 deaths due to COVID and few thousand cases all across the world. On 11th March 2020, he declared it as a pandemic on the basis of a fraudulent definition that has been secretly changed by WHO in way back in 2009 to declare H1N1 a fake pandemic. Later, he told the people that the mortality rate of COVID-19 was going to be 3 to 4%, and it turned out to be as low as 0.05% in our country, which is half that of seasonal influenza. He instructed all the countries all over the world to go for lockdown, which is ruinous, catastrophic. This lockdown killed many people than the virus itself. He told the people to maintain social distancing, taste, and so many things. He threw all the world into a chaos, a destructive scenario, but he never owned his responsibility. Now in this report, you can show he is lecturing us on herd immunity. He told that herd immunity has never been a public health strategy in history. He wanted us to believe that herd immunity is not to be achieved by exposing us to infection. It will be achieved by protecting us by vaccine. That is what is understanding. He doesn't even know that herd immunity can never be manufactured or manipulated. It is a natural phenomenon. It is the outcome of continuous interplay between the virulence of the organism and immunity of the host. Still, he was telling this lie without any hesitations. How could he do that? It is only possible because he has no medical schooling. He is the first non-physician Director General of WHO. He got his BA in biology. He got his PhD in community health. That is that much of his knowledge. But he likes him to be called as doctor. Better we refer him to as Dr. Fearmonger. This Dr. Fearmonger was spreading lie relentlessly, even when he owned his position as Director General for the second term. Next. When you know that the experts from scientific field all over the world, even in our country, they told us that this Omicron variant is the mild one. It kills rarely and causes hospitalization. In fact, Omicron was so mild in nature that it could be called a natural vaccine. It was a huge news of relief to the people. But look at it. What did he say? He said that Omicron COVID-19 variant poses very high risk of infection surge. Again, there is a manipulation of words. They're playing with words. Infection doesn't mean disease. It doesn't mean hospitalization and death. Still, he wanted to again praise the sound alarm. And within months after he had spoken this thing, Pfizer CEO came up and said that coming out with another vaccine, a variant of vaccine, rather to say, which will be tailor-made for the Omicron. So our question is, Mr. Tedros dances to whose tune? He knows when he tells a lie, who is going to benefit from his lie and who is going to be ruined from his lie. And this unabashed lie helped him to win the post of Director General for the second time by a secret ballot. Next.
Yeah, it is really, we have to challenge here the YouTube and Twitter. Pfizer After Effects data has been released by the company after the US federal judge ordered it. And the same US federal judge ordered masks to be withdrawn from transport. And why WHO, the same Dr. Tedros, I don't know how he's being labeled as doctor without any knowledge of medicine or health, speaking about herd immunity, why he kept quiet? That is $1 million question. Why YouTuber and Twitter doesn't allow people to understand the other side? Is it not a fact that US federal judge forced Pfizer vaccine after effects to be released when the company was reluctant, stating that it will release after 75 years? This nonsense. Why is WHO kept quiet on that? Why there is no mention of it, anything like that on its website? Why WHO doesn't mention of federal judge, US federal judge, mask mandate to be removed from the transport? Big issues. And what happened after the release of Pfizer after effects? What is the mortality rate after the vaccine administration? Why WHO is silent? When we question this, these YouTubers under community guide health lines, now we are demanding who is funding YouTuber and this Twitter and all. Is it not public information through which they are making money? We are providing information and they are making money, and with that ill-gotten money, now they are being funded by so-and-so to have only that information which is not true or which they want to impose. Why we are saying is, when we are discussing an issue, debating an issue, based on evidences, see, these are all the evidences. Am I right, Dr. G? They can prove us wrong. Because we release a flyer poster, my mobile number is there.
People like Mr.
Prove us wrong. You prove us wrong. What is there? You prove us wrong.
People like Mr. Tedros.
Yeah, I have even tagged Tedros, WHO organization, through Twitter and Instagram also, so that they understand what we are discussing. What is the live show? Who is the guest? And what is the title? We are not hiding. like YouTube under the name of community guidelines or like Twitter, they are doing injustice to the people of this world, citizens of the world, not DRTSPR channels or wonderful guests like this. We are debating openly with evidences. Without giving us any notice, you are pulling down our videos. We demand you restore all that with huge compensation. Otherwise, the law of the land will take its own. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Next one.
Just a word to complement what you have said. People like Mr. Tedros never breaks their so-called community guideline because the lie they put out may be the standard of their community guideline. So when you speak truth, they ban us.
But truth has to triumph. It will prevail. Because whatever YouTube and Twitter are doing, that is contempt of US federal code. It is contempt of US federal code, whatever YouTube and Twitter are doing. And when we are showcasing their orders and discussing it, for the larger audience to understand the implications of the vaccine, which was relieved on the order of the federal judge, and the mask mandate, which was removed on the order of the federal judge. WHO doesn't host it on its website, nor any other organization except DRTSPR channels. We are bringing it out live. Yes, sir, please.
Sometimes pictures are more eloquent than words. Why? On the left, you can see Mr. Tedros is shaking hand with former President of USA, Mr. Bill Clinton. Below is the tweet in which he thanked Mr. Clinton for helping him because he has got some fund from Clinton Foundation. Mr. Bill Clinton was the man behind him who promoted him to the international arena of health when he was the health minister of Ethiopia. And through this man, he got in contact with Mr. Bill Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He worked with him, and based on this strong backing, he owned his post as Director General of World Health Organization. On the right, you can see Mr. Tedros is holding a book so close to his heart. It appears it is the new Bible of New World Order because it was written by Bill Gates. Below is the Twitter where he is greeting Mr. Bill Gates for sending him this book. You can see the accent of drama. He's thanking Mr. Bill Gates for sending him a book. We all know that what Mr. Tedros had said in the inaugural speech of public hearing for pandemic treaty is clarified and elaborated by Bill Gates in his book. We can safely say whatever Tedros has said with reference to pandemic treaty, it was already scripted by Bill Gates in his book. So we can say that this Mr. Tedros is a smart guy. Why? He never minds expressing his gratitude and giving glowing tribute to his mentor and paymaster. Next.
And the irony is, all the three who are there in the pictures, whether Dr. Tedros, Mr. Bill Gates, or Mr. Bill Clinton, they have nothing to do with health. That is a big thing which people have to understand. Are they doctors? Do they have any medical background, medical history? Bill Gates, how to prevent the next pandemic? What is this? Laughing stock. What knowledge he has got? Just because he has earned some money and he dictate such thing to the world, and how Indian prime ministers and Indian political parties, Indian scientific bodies like Indian Council of Medical Research, Director Control, Government of India, and all the scientific bodies or health departments in every state, how is that they are following it? That beats my intelligence, sir. He is writing a book acknowledged by Dr. Tedros, and you have on the left Bill Clinton, all in the name of pandemic. And again, the same US federal court judges They come out and says nothing doing. Pfizer released the after effects of your vaccines, and it is released. Such a devastating aspect. And then they said no more vaccine mandates. I mean, mask mandates. Same US federal court. How is that this is being shown and this is being honored by Dr. Tedros, WHO, World Health Organization, and not US federal court judgments? That is it not in contempt? Yes.
Next is, who is whose Adhanam? Third title was given by us, Tulsidas, not really by us. It was given by our Honorable PM when he visited our country a few days back. The question was raised by an internationally known, renowned author, analyst, and researcher, William Engdahl. He wrote a very interesting article. You can go to his site and read this. Who is whose Tedros Adhanom? And on the right side, you can see that is a video corruption in the WHO. It is well known to the all informed people all over the world that WHO is mired in corruptions, unending corruptions for last few decades. Its lavish style of working is funded by powerful foundations. We all know that. And the thing has rotten to that extent that even the Times magazine, Times newspaper has reported a month back that China, the WHO, and the power grab that fueled a pandemic. So something is really fishy and dark, brewing in the darkness. Next slide.
Yeah, this I'll try to first.
People may ask, why are we...
Go ahead, sir, please. People may ask why.
People may ask, why are we giving so much attention on this man? What is the point of discussing on him? Point is this. This man was accused of genocide in Ethiopia by none other than a Nobel Peace Prize nominee, economist of USA. Allegation was filed against him in International Criminal Court in 2020. We do not know what happened to these allegations, but we surely know that this man, in the form of his second avatar, after he won his post for the second time, he came back with the idea of which is more sinister. People say that it is a plan of power grab. We are discussing about this man because he is going to be the more powerful man in the coming days. He may be the head of all head of states. He will dictate all the issues, not only related to our health, but our life. In fact, it is apprehended that this new treaty that they are plotting will supersede our constitutions and will threaten our sovereignty.
But how is that our Prime Minister?
By, I will come that later on.
Yeah, please.
Here is the anguish expressed by World Council for Health, written an open letter. They said that the proposed WHO agreement is unnecessary and is a threat to sovereignty and inalienable rights in it. It increases the WHO's suffocating power, mind it, the word, the suffocating power to declare unjustified pandemic, impose dehumanizing lockdowns, and enforce expensive, unsafe, ineffective treatment against the will of the people. These arguments are all based on facts. They're supported by evidences. If you can go to their site, World Council for Health, you can know the details. Next. So, it is almost clear for us that after having been placed in his throne as DG of WHO, his next mission is world governance power grab, attack on our bodily autonomy, and our national sovereignty. No, we are not hyping things. We are not overstating. I will give you blow-by-blow accounts from his own speech that he delivered in the inaugural session of public hearing with reference to pandemic treaty. There are 3 parts of his speech. In the initial parts, you will see how he again put out a pack of lies before us. He said, more than 6 million lives have been lost. On the right, you compare informations given by WHO in the month of May 2021. What did they say? The heading was True Death Toll of COVID-19. They said that their initial estimation was 3 million people would die from COVID. But actually, at the end of 31st December 2020, it was seen that 1.8 million people died due to COVID based on their own calculations. And that too were based on some fraudulent definitions of death by COVID. Because we know the CDC has said in the month of May 2020, August 2020, that of all COVID deaths, only 6% was actually due to COVID. Others are due to related comorbidities. Even on their fraudulent definitions, the death count didn't cross 1.8 million. So they came up with another fraudulent data next year, 2021. In the month of May, they said in the month of May, they said, no, we have recalculated it. The figure has come up to 3.3 million. And after 1 year, Mr. Tedros, একটা শোতে রয়েছে, একটু পরে ফোন করছি, একটা লাইভ শোতে রয়েছে। So again, he has come up with another data. He said that 6 million lives have been lost. See the extent. They have inflated the figures. They are playing with the numbers to threaten the people, to legitimize some sinister plan. Next. Next. It doesn't end here. He said that pandemic is still far from over. Experts from across the world, even in our country, has clearly said that we have reached the stage of endemicity. Because Omicron has clearly signaled the endemic nature of this disease. But the top boss of WHO want us to believe that pandemic is not yet over. So they are trying to put a theme of perpetual pandemic. And next, he said that our relaxations create variants. What does it mean? By January 2022, almost all the governments all across the world, they have withdrawn the COVID restrictions because there were scientific evidences coming out that these so-called mandates, mask mandate, lockdown, vaccine mandate, including vaccine mandate, social distancing, these are not effective at all to prevent infection or transmission. These are actually catastrophic in nature. So almost all the governments all over the world, they were forced to withdraw it. But this Mr. Tedros said that relaxation. When we are going back to normal, he called it relaxation. And this relaxation will create variants. What kind of nonsense it is? Can he back his argument by any scientific evidences? No. And he also said that our focus must remain on ending the pandemic. Mindless. They boasted that they will end the pandemic. That is their audacity. So it is up to some powerful men and foundations and pharmaceutical companies that they will end the pandemic. Is it the natural history of pandemic or any epidemic? No. There is not a grain of science in it. It is an absolute lie from the viewpoint of epidemiology. It is not up to us whether the pandemic will end or not. It is up to the virus itself. And there is a slip of tongue. You may call it Freudian sleep also. He considered that 83% of population Africa did not receive a single dose of vaccine. Could be a heartening news, but not for him. As Africa stands apart, so far as vaccination is concerned, he played that we have to shore up the vaccination. Really, indeed, he's doing his job to shore up the demand of vaccine because supply is too many. Next. And here is the most intriguing part of his lecture. He said that the COVID-19 has exposed serious gaps in the global health security architecture. Global health security architecture. Can you understand? What do they mean? In the normal time, such words or phrases would appear meaningless, outlandish. But they have some other thing in their mind. So they have created such phrases. Global health security architecture. And they held what? To be responsible for the chaos that they did to the world. It is Mr. Tedros and his organization that brought about destruction and death all over the world due to lockdown, social distancing, and mask mandate. He never owned his responsibility. Rather, he said that all this chaos was due to a poor governance which is complex and fragmented. So their real intent is to make it simplified, to make it more unified. In simple word, they want a world governments with a supreme control. That is what their intention. That is said that pandemic has exposed shortcomings in the application and implementation of IHR. IHR means International Health Regulations. These are a set of vicious provisions in the WHO. They have passed these regulations way back in 2005. It empowered him to declare some disease as a public health emergency as he did it. As he did it. Without giving any explanations. And he could do it. He could instruct all the governments all over the world to put the country under lockdown by being empowered by these international health regulations. Now they are saying there are shortcomings. Yes, there are shortcomings. What is that? What are they? Because you know there are two countries which stand apart, which did not do lockdown in their country, Sweden and Belarus. There are countries in African continent who didn't buy the vaccines. So, international health regulations do not have the punitive clause so that they can deal with the non-compliant nations. So, they now need more reward us, more tightening grip on the nations. That is why they are telling that there are shortcomings and implementations of IHR, and so they are more interested to revise it. And they will be doing this in the coming week. In December, the World Health Assembly made the historic decisions. The pandemic treaty is said to be the historical decisions. And he also said that it will be going to a generational agreement. Mind the viewers, what he has said, a generational agreement. So whatever this agreement, the impact it will have, it will not end with us, with our generation. It will spill over to the coming generations also. So a tyrannical surveillance state for generations to come. Next. And you can see a seasoned liar like Mr. Tedros has become the prophet of future pandemic, who is all set to turn our world one big biosecurity state. Next.
Here also, I am trying to bring it to the notice because we have done it in April 2020. We have exposed him. In 2018, speaking in Middle East, he said there will be a pandemic 2 years from now. From their own website. How can he profess? Is he a prophet? Now he is a prophet and puppet of whom? And that too, dictating world health. लोग समझना चाहिए 2018 में ही वेबसाइट उनके WHO में ही ये कह रहा है कि महामारी होगी 218 में 2 साल से अब से 2 साल के बाद तो किसके इशारा पर किसके जानकारी पर और किस तरह ये कोई बड़ा कुछ ये है क्या ज्ञानी और उनकी तीसरी आंख खुली क्या तो खुली तो किस तरह खुली क्यों खुली ये बताना चाहिए ना और नागरिकों को समझना चाहिए ये अपनी आरोग्य है और मैं हैदराबाद से हूं कोलकाता से डॉक्टर गौतम दास जी है डॉक्टर टेड्रोस अफ्रीका के है जो फंड करता है अमेरिका का और जो बाकी यूरोप के वहां पर जो जिस्म है वहां पर जिस तरह की वातावरण है जिस तरह की अफ्रीका में या जिस तरह तेलंगाना हैदराबाद में जिस तरह कोलकाता बंगाल में काफी कुछ डिफरेंट है ये अलग है तो ऐसे अलग-अलग वातावरण अलग-अलग शरीर जिस्म में एक तरह का ये चिकित्सा एक तरह का निवारण किस तरह हो सकता आप समझ जाइए हमारे खान पीन हमारे रहन सहन क्या उन्हीं से मिलता है क्या तो कहां महामारी कहां से आई हमको तो आप सोचिए थोड़ा ये जानकार होने चाहिए आपको क्योंकि ये कॉमन सेंस है यस सर
Yes, you are right. Our revered Dr. Amitabh Banerjee has rightly said in his letter to the... He noticed that the spread of disease or epidemic, whatever you call it, is largely dependent on the regional factors like climate, like immunity and the health status of the people. There is no such thing that one size fits all. So, this idea of one world, one health, one solution is not only faulty, it is a dangerous. You have rightly noted it. So now, go back to our slides. So, we were talking about the power grab that Mr. Tedros and his organization is plotting. It is very clear from his speech. Now the question you may ask, where we are heading to? They want us, they lead us to an enslaved society. You can see an example what is happening in Shanghai and other parts of China in the name of controlling infections or zero COVID dose. Here is a report, newspaper report. It says that China has come up with an app which is built on their mobile device. Whenever he or she comes to any public place to access any service, any sort of thing, this device will show his status in 3 color codes. If it is red, you are required to be sent to the center, hospital, or quarantine center. No questions will be asked. We'll never allowed to ask why, who. If it is yellow, you also should be put under observation. And if it is green, you can go after a thermal check. So, who will decide access to any service? Who will decide your social movement, economic activities? You will never know. You will never be able to question. They will be behind the screen. That is called totalitarian control by a surveillance state. That is happening. That is happening. And this diplomat reported that this Chinese authority is perpetrating automated tyranny. They're collecting biometrics of the citizen without their consent. And it is a proof of their loyalty to the government. You all know that there is a system of social credit. So every information, right from whether you have infected, what is state, what is the result of your test, what treatment you have got, everything will be recorded by them, and they will use algorithm to give you the result. So your future will hang on their whims and fancies. You can say, no. That is far-fetched. This thing may not happen in our country. These things can only happen in China. But friends, you are mistaken if you think that way. Move on to the next slide, please.
मैं ये बता रहा हूँ जानकारी की आपके घूमना, बाजार में घूमना या घर से बाहर जाना, आपके स्वयं आपके परिवार को मिलने जाना या कुछ खरीदारी जाने का, जिस तरह चाइना में हो रहा है, आपको लाल, पीला, हरा आपके जिस्म और आपके आने जाने की और आपकी जिंदगी की पूरी जिम्मेदारी ये सब ले लेंगे. ऑटोमेटिक आप एक रोबो बन जाएंगे. आप कुछ भी आपके हाथ में नहीं रहेगा, सोच में नहीं रहेगा. क्यों? आप क्यों भी प्रश्न नहीं कर सकते. क्या ये चाइना में ही है? आप देखिए जिस तरह प्रधानमंत्री ने बिना उसके ऊपर केस डाले डॉक्टर टेड्रोस को भारत बुलाया और अपनी सर्व संपदा हम चैनल के द्वारा बता रहे थे कि जब अल्टरनेट है हमारे पास आयुर्वेदा, नेचुरोपैथी, क्यों दुनिया को ये हम नहीं सौंपे. तो प्रधानमंत्री उनको बुलाते हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ कोरोना. ये कोरोना के लिए वो करना चाहिए था, लेकिन उनको तुलसीदास नाम दिए है. तुलसीदास का मतलब क्या है? तुलसीदास के नाम दिए है डॉक्टर टेड्रोस को. तो यही हमारे देश में भी होने वाला है क्या? हमको इस तरह सौंपा गया है क्या? क्या यही लोग पैसे देके राजनीतिक दल को चलाते हैं क्या? क्या राजनीतिक दल इन पैसों से हम हमारे जीवन को अस्त व्यस्त करके डरा के धमा के केवल पैसे से ही राज्य करेगा? क्योंकि आपको मालूम है ये सरकार आने के बाद भी पूरे राजनीतिक दल मिलके राजनीतिक दल को जो भी पार्टी कॉर्पोरेट कंपनी पैसा दे रहा है वो राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन एक्ट में नीचे नहीं आएगा. इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स भी ओपेक. आप इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स में भी कुछ पता नहीं चलेगा कौन सी कंपनी किसको दे रहा कितना, और बाहर से जो भी आता वो भी आप पूछताछ नहीं कर सकते. ये सरकार पूरे राजनीतिक दल मिलके एक ये संविधान में एक इन्होंने अमेंडमेंट किया है. ये आपको पता है क्या? इसीलिए ये सब करने के लिए अभी जागो नागरिक.
Here is a report that says who has made a contract with a German telecommunication and multinational corporations Deutsche Telekom. For what? For world's first global vaccine passport system. This will be based on a software model with a QR code system. This report says that the WHO will support 194 members to facilitate implementation of the digital verification technology. Read it carefully. Support. Actually, it means dictates. And there will be a goose gateway service. That will be a bridge between regional systems. And remember, who has said that all regional vaccination certificate system will be replaced by their universal one? And the company, Deutsche Telekom, is so much related with this contract that they said that they have won this contract. Why? Because they are adding values to the ongoing vaccination program. That is their commitment. That is their commitment. And the gateway will be located in Luxembourg and will be hosted by European Commission. This piece of information is very much needed. I will come to it later on. Next slide.
भारत नागरिक को जानकार आपको जानकार करने के लिए क्या टीका सर्वांतर टीका किसकी जरूरत है? जिस तरह ये बर्बाद कर दिया अमेरिका और यूरोप को, क्या हमको भी उसी में धकेला जा रहा है? सोचिए आप। और भारत का जो भी है पूरा इंफॉर्मेशन हम पहले से बता रहे, सिविल नाम के एक संस्था से आपका रेवेन्यू डिटेल्स पूरे अमेरिका में है। यहाँ बात करते हैं आत्मनिर्भर की, हमारी सरकार 80-20 की बात करती है, लेकिन हमारी पूरी समाचार ने बाहर बेच चुका है। और इस तरह और एक हमारी आरोग्य स्वास्थ्य की जो समस्या और जो भी समाचार है, एक जर्मन कंपनी डॉइच टेलीकॉम द्वारा यूरोपियन यूनियन कमीशन, कौन होते हैं ये लोग हमारी व्यक्तिगत समस्या समाचार लेने की? Who the hell these people are to collect my information? I am a constitution here. I am a citizen. They are collecting my information to store it in Deutsche Telekom. वहां पर ये हमारी पूरी समाचार लगाना चाहते हैं। और एक संयुक्त एक टीका की एक प्रयोजन पासपोर्ट, टीका जरूरत क्या है भाई? हम यही पूछ रहे हैं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट से पूछे, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने पूछे, सीडीसी, एफडीए और यूट्यूब और ट्विटर से भी पूछे, टीका में क्या है? What is there in the vaccine? We are demanding them. First you put the contents of the vaccine out. At least we are thankful to US federal judge and our own Supreme Court failed us because they are not investigated as to what these vaccines contain. What is coronavirus? Did they isolate the virus first? And in tandem with that, what is the treatment given? What does remdesivir or other drugs which proposed by World Health Organization withdrawn contain? कोरोना क्या है? क्या वायरस को सेपरेट किया है क्या? और उसकी चिकित्सा रूप में रेमडेसिविर या जो भी दवाएं WHO ने, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने जो डिक्टेट किया, वो क्यों वापस लिया? उसमें क्या है? कोरोना वायरस क्या है और ये दवाई रेमडेसिविर में क्या है? और ये निवारण के रूप में कोरोना, कोविशील्ड हो, कोवैक्सीन हो, फाइजर हो, इसमें क्या चीज है? अरे उसमें क्या है भाई? एटलीस्ट हम दाद देते सुप्रीम कोर्ट फेडरल जज को, उन्होंने बोला फाइजर नथिंग डूइंग, चलो पूरा बाहर निकालो। क्या हमारी सुप्रीम कोर्ट, उच्चतम न्यायालय क्यों नहीं किया और हमारे हाई कोर्ट क्यों नहीं करती? इसीलिए लोग जानकार हो जाइए, जब कोई भी अंदर जाना चाहिए आपके, उसमें क्या है आपको पता होना या नहीं? आप ही सोच जाइए, మన లోపల శరీరంలో ఏదైనా పంపాలనుకున్నప్పుడు వ్యాక్సిన్ లో గాని లేకపోతే టీకాలో గాని లేకపోతే మందులో గాని ఆ మందులో ఏముంది? కరోనా ఏంది? వైరస్ ను సెపరేట్ చేశారా? ఆ కరోనాకు చికిత్స అని చెప్పి వరల్డ్ హెల్త్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ WHO ఏదైతే చెప్పిందో రెమెడిసివిర్ అవన్నీ, అది వెనకాలకు ఎందుకు తీసుకున్నది? దాంట్లో ఏముంది? అదేవిధంగా టీకాలు నివారణ అంటా ఉన్నారు, ఆ టీకాలో ఏముంది చెప్పరు. అమెరికన్ సుప్రీంకోర్టు ఫెడరల్ జడ్జి చెప్పాడు, ఫైజర్ చలో మొత్తం బయట పెట్టు, నువ్వు ఇచ్చిన తర్వాత ఏమేమి వచ్చినాయని. ఎంత పెద్ద ఉల్లాస అక్కడ బయట రావడం, దాంట్లో ఎన్నెన్నో విషయాలు, ఎంతో మంది చనిపోవడం, ఎంతో మందికి ఇబ్బందులు కలగడం నేను చెప్పడం లేదు, వెబ్సైట్ లో ఉంది. ఆ సమాచారం వరల్డ్ హెల్త్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ బయట పెట్టదు, మన భారత ప్రభుత్వం, రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వం ఎందుకు బయట పెట్టదు? సుప్రీంకోర్టు కూడా ఎందుకు దాన్ని తీసుకోలేదు? సుప్రీంకోర్టు ఎందుకు అడుగుతలేదు? ఈ టీకాలు వ్యాక్సిన్ లో ఏముంది, రెమెడిసివిర్ లో ఏముంది? ఎందుకు వరల్డ్ హెల్త్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ గానీ రాష్ట్ర కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వాలు దీన్ని ప్రోత్సహించినాయి, మళ్ళా వెనకాలకు ఎందుకు తీసుకున్నాయి? ఈ రోజు మళ్ళా టీకాల రూపంలో మళ్ళా ఎందుకు చెప్తా ఉన్నాయి? దాంట్లో ఏముంది? కరోనాలో ఏముంది? వైరస్ లో ఏముంది? ఈ టీకాల్లో ఏముంది? మందులు ఏంలో ఏముంది? ఎస్ సార్, ప్లీజ్.
If you want to know details on how fast they are moving ahead with their plan, what is their timeline, you please visit the site of Corbett, not Jim Corbett, he's James Corbett. If you can go his site, he's a very courageous, tireless journalist. He has been collating every bit of information regarding this. If you go to his site, you will be well informed about this thing. Here is a brief outline how they are moving ahead. In the last November 21, the World Health Assembly met for the second time in the 75 history of WHO. 75 years of history, they met. Why? For making a convention or agreement or an instrument by 2024. That was the necessity. That was the urgency. And intergovernmental negotiating body was formed. I will come to that later on. They will be talking or negotiating with different governments. And it is followed by public hearing. They are hearing what public can say. I will also come to later on. By June 16 and 17, sending public comment will end, but that is the last option. And in the coming week, between May 22nd and 28th, there will be amendment of international health regulations, a very, very important one for us, because if it is amended, it will give enormous power to Mr. Tedros and his cohorts to do whatever they like. Even if this final agreement is not signed, this IHR is being amended in such a way that they can deal with the non-compliant nations in such a way so that they can be taught a lesson. You can understand what they can do by using UN. So there is possibility. People are apprehended that the non-compliant nations can be punished by various means, economic sanctions. We do not know what will the form, but they're thinking in this way. Next slide.
ఆలోచన చేయండి లేకపోతే మే
Now
20
I'm
నుండి
again
yes sir please.
coming back to his
Yes, sir.
speech, Mr. Tedros' inaugural speech. Here he cleared amply that why and how they are advancing to the international instrument by 2024. Earlier I have said they have noticed there are some shortcomings in the applications of IHR international health regulations. They will have more tighter regulations, tightening grip on us, on our country, on our government. Say that the international negotiating body was formed. Who is chairing this body? On the right hand side, it is her picture. She is Dr. Precious Masoso. She is Dr. Precious Masoso. She is from South Africa, and she has long been heading technical advisory group of WHO on digital health. In the early days of 2020, she wrote an article, COVID-19 as a digital pandemic. She clearly articulated that this pandemic has opened up opportunity for a massive advancement of digital technology, and she will be heading this international negotiating body. So you can imagine what could happen next. Next slide.
Yeah.
People are now accusing WHO of authoritarian attitude of reaching an instrument. So they have come up with a new gimmick. What is that? They are now convening public hearings. They are inviting public comments. You can understand the gimmick. Mr. Tedros has clearly said that, I repeat, I am appealing to all, please mention What substantive elements do you think should be included? What elements should be included in the instrument? That much you can say. Substantive element. If I say, according to their rule of transparency and accountability that they are holding out as their benchmark, if I say as a citizen of our country, of the world, that I am questioning the necessity of such instrument at all, no, I and you will not be entertained. That scope is blocked. This is their authoritarian attitude. People should ask in the first place whether such instrument is required at all and for why. You will not be allowed to ask why. You will just be allowed to say what could be included in that undemocratic authoritarian way of manipulating public opinion to legitimize power grab by a group of unelected people. These Tedros, Dr. Masaso, and everyone behind them are all unelected people. Remember this. Next slide. So you may ask, I got your point, but what do they actually want? In simple word, they want great reset by digital dictatorship. You may ask why? By digital identity, enforcing vaccine passport under the cover of protecting your health. Under the slogan, one world, one health, one state. Very vicious slogan. What is their alibi? Their alibi is perpetual pandemic and a sweet term they had coined, universal health coverage. Don't mistake it. It will not cover your health requirement. It will not assert your health right. It will advance their right on your health. Please try to understand this universal health coverage means they will have access to your health universally. That is their alibi. They have twisted the meaning of every word that we utter usually for us. They have taken our words. They have co-opted it. They have used it as their own slogan. What do they want to lose? What do they want us to lose? Yes, we have to pay a price. What is that? Most precious one in our life. Liberty, democratic rights, and our right to our body, that is called bodily autonomy. If you want to details on this information, you can get to the site of Dr. Joseph Marcola. Regularly, he is updating his site with plethora of informations. Next. Now the question is, what is the source of so much enormous power of Mr. Tedros, Dr. Masaso, and others? Who propped them up? It is a legitimate question. Who are the powers behind the curtain? No, they are not behind the screen. They are very much before our eyes. And front runner of them is World Economic Forum. They hold the supreme control. They are the think tank. They have endorsed this international treaty in their site. They say the treaty's goal is to improve universal and equitable access to vaccines, medicines, and diagnostics. Very interesting. You follow the order, vaccines, medicines, and diagnostics. In a normal sense of science, if you believe it, it should be reverse. Diagnostic, medicine, and vaccines. But they have done upside down. They have upturned everything. Vaccines, medicines, and diagnostics. So you can understand what are their priorities. So World Economic Forum holds the supreme control. Cables like Mr. Tedros, Dr. Masaso just toe their line. Next.
Here I want to caution
Another
India.
powerful.
Yeah, I want to caution India because even in from Telangana, KTR says I'm going to Davos. Why World Economic Forum? For what? Why are you going there? No one understands. See, now you have to understand how this World Economic Forum is trying to get hold of all these politicians across the globe. Few politicians, few political parties, few businessmen, should they control us? हमारे राष्ट्र से भी केटीआर ने कल दावा किया कि मैं दावोस जा रहा हूं. क्यों? वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम मीटिंग क्या करने के लिए जा रहे हो भाई? क्या इसीलिए ये सब मिलके केवल थोड़े राजनीतिक दल, थोड़े पारिश्रमिक लोग मिलके क्या हमारी जिंदगी पर शासन करेंगे? क्या हम समझदार नहीं है? क्या हमारे हक इसी तरह छीना जाएगा? क्या हम संविधान नहीं है? Are we not the constitution by ourselves? Are these elected representatives by us? Are they not our servants? And who are they to control us? Without giving us any information, we can't even question them. What is this happening to India and the world? Try to open up your eyes and ears so that you can speak. That is what Dr. TSPR channels do. It will bring you the information with evidences. Everything. That is why you want your eyes and ears to be open so that you can speak. You can express. Yes, sir.
Yes. Next powerful and influential body is European Council. This is a club of prime ministers and presidents. They have no legislative power. They are in the driver's seat. They said that international treaty on pandemic and prevention preparedness, and they will hold a position to control it. And this European Council will be the gateway that they have said. Next slide.
क्या एक थोड़े छोटे मोटे लोग मिलके जिस तरह वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम, यूरोपियन काउंसिल, क्या हमारी जिंदगी को दांव पे लगाएंगे? हमारे शरीर को उनके हम हक देंगे क्या उनको? छोटे मोटे कंट्री, और वहां पर भी यूरोप में भी लोग रोड पे आके वहां पर भी ये प्रतिबंध के खिलाफ लड़ रहे हैं. आप यूरोपियन और ये रशियन का वार भी देख सकते हैं, यूक्रेन और रशियन का वार भी. लोग रोड पे आए, वहां पर भी लोग जता रहे, इसीलिए वहां पर मैंडेट्स निकाल दिया गया. ब्रिटेन एक जो साक्षी है अपने सामने. और कैसे हमारे प्रधानमंत्री फ्रेंच जाते हैं, फ्रांस और यूरोपियन यूनियन सबसे आलिंगन करते हैं. उनको कोई मैंडेट नहीं है. क्या वैक्सीन लिया बताने के लिए बोलिए, और वो वैक्सीन में क्या है, और हम जो ले रहे हैं उस वैक्सीन में क्या है. और ये डर क्यों? लोग सोचिए, दिमाग से सोचिए. आप आजू बाजू में देखिए, कहीं पर कुछ है, कोरोना है आपको कहीं दिखाई देता? इलेक्शन में लाखों लोग गए, लाखों लोग इलेक्शन रैलीज में गए. यहाँ पर हैदराबाद में हर जगह मोदी आ रहे, अमित शाह आ रहे, और हमारे राहुल गांधी हर जगह जा रहे, केजरीवाल जा रहे. कहीं कुछ हुआ? कहीं भी कुछ भी नहीं. आईपीएल मैचेस कुछ हो रहा है? आप फिर क्यों डर रहे हैं? आप क्यों पूछताछ नहीं करते? अचानक लहर कहां से आएगा? From where will the wave come? Lakhs of people participating in rallies addressed by all politicians. IPL matches are going on. Cinema releases, नए सिनेमा कितने लोग, लाखों लोग देख रहे, वहां कुछ नहीं होता. अचानक डर कहां से आ रहा? How this fear comes up? And why is it only corona which is killer disease? TB, dengue, malaria, typhoid, diarrhea, malnutrition during this hot season. In India it is very hot. In other countries, it may be different temperature. What is the disease we are suffering and what is the disease they are suffering? They have to only enlighten. Those people, Europeans and Americans, Africans, should understand. What is the disease you are suffering? Is corona more dangerous? Where is the autopsy or postmortem report? Even Indians should think. भारतीय लोग सोचना चाहिए. इतनी बड़ी धूप, क्या कोरोना कहीं दिखाई दे रहा आपको? फिर ये डर कहां से, और ये जरूरत क्या है? ये बड़े बड़े यूरोपियन काउंसिल की, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की जिस तरह साजिश किया जा रहा है, पूरे से पूरे हमारे जिस्म जो भी है, पूरे उनके दायित्व करने के लिए हमारे राजनीतिक दल, हमारे सरकार क्यों करना चाहते हैं, और ये लोग क्यों चुप है? ये वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम मीटिंग क्यों जाते हैं ये लोग, क्यों आप प्रश्न नहीं करते? यस सर.
You can see the extent of their urgency and complete disregard for public opinion from this comment of European councils themselves. They said that council gives green light to start negotiations on international pandemic treaty. Who are they? Who are they? Without discussing it with the public, without reviewing its merits and demerits, who are they to give green signals? I think the people of Europe will be asking them. Next slide.
या यूरोपियन
There is
काउंसिल
another
जिस तरह
group.
या मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, इसीलिए एक बात बताना चाहता हूँ हिंदी में. ये यूरोपियन काउंसिल, हम इसको हरी झंडा दे रहे हैं. आप कौन होते हो? आपके यूरोपियन यूनियन में आपके लोग इस सही जानकारी दिए आपको लोगों को, यूरोपियन यूनियन को? बिना ये लोग भी रोड पे आएंगे. जिस तरह कोरोना को खत्म करे ये लोग भी आज जवाब देना पड़ेगा. और हमारे पंचायत में चर्चा नहीं होती, हमारे पुरपालक शाखा म्युनिसिपैलिटीज या म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन में चर्चा नहीं है, विधानसभा असेंबलीज में चर्चा नहीं है, ना लोकसभा में कोई चर्चा होती है. और अचानक ऊपर से एक दिन रात में आते ये बात करते हैं और पूरे राजनीतिक दल एक है यहाँ पर. देखिए क्या ये पूरे फंडिंग हर एक राजनीतिक दल इनसे जा रहा है क्या? और ये राजनीतिक दल उनके नजदीक रिश्तेदार क्या लेते हैं, क्या भी लिए, उसके ऊपर भी पूछताछ इंक्वायरी होनी चाहिए. यस सर.
Modern wars are not fought by the mercenary soldiers. There must be an army of intellectuals, authors, writers, and educated people. Once the author of War and Peace, you know his name, Tolstoy, he was asked, "Sir, who is going to win the war, coming war?" He replied, "Who are well-fed and well-bred will win the war." Now you see there are a group of not only well-fed, well-bred, they are well-funded and well-paid. This army of intellectuals from London School of Economics, they have come up with a wish list from the pandemic treaty, and they said this is long. So don't blame them. They are doing their job. They are making the wish list for their paymasters. One lesson we have to learn, that the battle will be difficult, because these people will churn out many informations, many analyses that will legitimize the WHO pandemic treaty. So we should be aware of it, and we should be confronting it with counter views and counter narratives. Difficult, but we have to do that. No option. Next slide. Now it is the turn of United States. The Biden government, all earlier one.
Earlier side?
Earlier side. Yes, this one. No, earlier, just earlier.
Yes.
Okay, let's
Yes.
see. The Biden government, all liberal masks are off. They promised many things: end of racial discriminations, defunding of police. Nothing happened. They're focusing on single point agenda, vaccinating the entire nation. And they are now fast tracking some changes, amendments in the international health regulations. What did they say? There could be some nitty-gritties. There could be some difficulties in having this treaty signed by 194 countries. It may be time taking, so there must be a fast tracking. So we have learned that There is fast tracking method of test RT-PCR. There was fast tracking of vaccines. Now there is fast tracking of international health regulations amendment. By this, they want to empower Mr. Tedros to declare emergency, lockdown, border closure at any time. They can enforce it on any nations. And not only that, they want some punitive clause so that they can catch hold on the nations which will not comply. That is the most vicious.
Ridiculous. That is not going to happen. US federal judges, they themselves gave an order now against Pfizer, against mask mandates of Biden government. I think the Americans should open up now. You want to be suppressed and controlled by a government which is not at all transparent. They want to control your health through vaccines. And you have seen flu. What happened to your health? Is the treatment or prevention more dangerous than your disease itself? Americans have to open up. You say you are leading the world. Americans speak about human rights everywhere. Then what is happening in your own country, your own government? And see, the earlier government, they stopped funding for World Health Organization. Am I right, sir? Now this government is fast tracking us. What does this show? In the same America, they have divergent opinions. At least political parties are on a different side. What is happening in India? All together one. All political parties, state government, central government, Indian Council of Medical Research, Director Control Government of India and their pampered media, they're all one headline every time. That is why I am telling Indian political parties, don't mistake population of India. Sri Lanka crisis is happening. What is happening in Sri Lanka? महंगाई, बेरोजगारी, लोग तंग हो गए कोरोना से, कोविड से, और जिस तरह लूटी किया गया राजनीतिक दल, वहां से भ्रष्टाचार. यहाँ पर भी अगर सरकार, केंद्र राष्ट्र सरकार, राजनीतिक दल हो या कोई, इस तरह बाइडन हो, इस तरह वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की पूछताछ पे या फार्मेसी या दूसरे की पूछताछ पे आप चल के लोगों को आप प्रति बनाए, लोगों की स्वास्थ्य हो या लोगों की जीने का हक, अगर इसको आप प्रति और गुलाम बनाए तो लोग चुप नहीं बैठने वाले हैं. क्योंकि वहां श्रीलंका किस तरह जल रहा, यहाँ पर भी महंगाई, किस तरह महंगाई है, 220 और इस तरह की महंगाई, बेरोजगारी, और लोग जान जा चुके डर के मारे, टीका के मारे या लॉकडाउन के मारे. क्या लोग चुप बैठेंगे? सोचिए आप, अभी वक्त है आपके पास. इस तरह की साजिश में भारत ना आए, नहीं तो श्रीलंका की जैसी हाल यहाँ पर भी होगा. Yep.
Yes. Now I will be fast tracking. Now I will be fast tracking our program. Fast tracking because there is time constraint. We have to wrap up it by another half an hour.
Please. Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. Is a right slide. Okay, put it there. Now, the prophet of pandemic has come up with a new germ. Earlier he was talking about the deadly viruses. Now he has come up with a germ. This germ is not biological. It is political, economic. This is called germ team. This man, this prophet of pandemic, I need not mention his name. He is very well known to you. That he is going to form a team, international team called germ team. What is germ? Germ is probably global emergency response. Aim for I cannot remember. Something will be there. Monitoring team, sorry. Global emergency response monitoring team. And they will be overseeing which nation is complying and which is not. They will dictate when to do lockdown, when to close the border, when to stop the aviations. Everything they will control. A group of few thousand people. So you can imagine how demonic it can be, how devastating it can be for our democracies, our sovereignty. Next. So, in conclusion of this part 1, our request to all viewers, make no mistake to understand, if pandemic treaty is an instrument, who is a powerful weapon against you? Who is a privately owned company? Biggest stakeholder is Mr. Bill Gates, associated with his Gavi, Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunizations. The cabals of Tedros, Dr. Masaso and others are working to further the business interests of their paymasters, not for us. The head of 23 countries who have already met and gave their nod for the agreement, they have capitulated. Stringent steps, including economic sanctions, may be contemplated. Many are apprehending this against non-compliant nations. And the nations which will not comply with a dictatorial rule, they will be punished. And the subservient nations that will readily comply, they will be prized. They will be rewarded with incentives through World Bank. And they will never allow you to ask why. Next. There is a next.
Yes.
On the basis of our narration, my friend Partho has drawn this beautiful cartoon. It clarified all the things that we have discussed. We have discussed so many things, gave so many data and informations. You might forget them all. But I hope this picture will linger on in your mind for many days. Make no mistake, who is operating the talking doll? Next. Next, I'm coming to our part 2. Who can save us? Really? We should seriously think about it. Already we have discussed about the magnitude of the problem, how demonic its form could be. But who can save us from such eventualities? I think when it implies a direct attack on our body and our right to life, it threatens our fundamental rights, it threatens the sovereignty of a nation. Who should come first? The human rights organizations, those who uphold the values of human rights, so dear to them. Where are they? Where have they gone? Why are they not there in the scene? Next slide. Could they save us from such monstrous coup treaty? Certainly not. Why? I have already said that well-fed, well-bred, well-funded people will not be there on the side of people, at least not now. Here is a piece of information from the newspaper. Mr. George Soros gave $100 million to Human Rights Watch. So they are keeping quiet. They have got money. And same is true for other human rights organizations also. So you cannot expect much from them. Keep it there. Okay. But can we expect some safeguards from own government, political parties, especially the opposition parties? Is there any hope? No hope in sight, at least for now. Why? Because our own Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, are echoing what Tedros and Masaso are saying. In a virtual summit on COVID-19. See what he has said. He said that global health security architecture and especially pitch for streaming its approval process for vaccines. The same thing that we have been discussing, the same thing that Mr. Tedros has delineated in his speech. Same, just copy and paste. So our question is, why our politicians, our own government will be the Pied Piper of the Hamlin? But question is, who is the real shadowy piper? I know you all can recognize him. He is the CEO of World Economic Forum. Next, then who are left? Who can save us? None. We the people ourselves can save us. That is the message of this show. Because when the constitution is under attack, when as a nation our sovereignty is under threat, we should come forward to protect our fundamental rights enshrined in our constitutions. Next. And I must mention the recent Supreme Court judgment with this regard. Someone is happy with the judgment, someone is not so happy, someone are very much apprehensive, someone say there are so many loopholes. But in my opinion, it is a trembling flicker of hope in the mid-tunnel. Why? Because there are some positive aspects of this judgment. Firstly, the government of India asked the court to reject this writ petition because they said that this will harm the public because it will increase the vaccine hesitancy. But the court stood firmly and rejected the bill. They said no. Even it is the prerogative of the executives to take any disciplinary actions or decisions. Court should not interfere. That is true. But court cannot stay away when the fundamental rights or constitution is under attack. When your regulations, your stipulations, your mandates threaten the fundamental rights, which are manifestly arbitrary, which are unfair, unreasonable. And they say that our right not to get vaccinated, even our right to refuse any form of treatment is protected under Article 21. That is the brighter aspect of this judgment. But there are some dark aspects also. There are some things which are deeply worrying. The court has endorsed the vaccination strategy of the government. They didn't find anything with this. They didn't find any fault with this. Even they endorsed the vaccination of the children. They said that it is in tune with the world consensus. They said that adverse effect of immunizations, AEFI, is maintained very well by the government. So these are all the negative things. But there is a brighter aspect also. And we must remember, it is we the people, it is our responsibility. We should come out on the stage. We should raise our voice so that this trembling flicker of hope will burn bright. Next. Now we have also deep worries about upcoming law. There is apprehension that a law like Public Health Law Bill 2022 is going to be passed in the coming monsoon session of the Parliament. We do not know what is the contour, what is the real form of this law. Media reports say that it is based on the structure of Public Health Law Bill 2017. In fact, if it is that, there are deeply worrying things because not only the central government, the local authorities will have sweeping power over us. They can do anything. They can restrict your access to any public services. They can decontaminate you. They can vaccinate you. They can treat you in the name of controlling infections. If it is passed, it will be in tune with the pandemic treaty of WHO. So here is a letter that will be sending by renowned doctors, researchers, and social activists. They are writing this letter to our PM. I request all the viewers to go to Janu Andolan site and read this letter and give your consent, because Janu Andolan probably will be left the only option for us, and fight for your liberty, fundamental rights, and bodily autonomy before the day comes when we will not be allowed to ask why next. So our concluding message is: stop the WHO pandemic treaty, fight for your fundamental rights and national sovereignty. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation, sir. Wonderful. जन आंदोलन. अब देखिए, वेबसाइट जाइए, जानकार हो जाइए, और सम्मति हो असम्मति हो आपकी मर्जी है, क्योंकि आप आपके मर्जी के मालिक हो. आपकी स्वास्थ्य, आपकी जिंदगी आपके हाथ में. क्या आप इसको दूसरे के हो या दूसरा कोई संस्था हो, फार्मेसी कंपनी हो, या फार्मेसी या ये WHO कंपनी द्वारा, वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम द्वारा डिक्टेट किए गए सरकार, राजनीतिक दल, उनके हाथ में आप अपनी जिंदगी, अपनी स्वास्थ्य, आपकी वर्तमान, आपके भविष्य और आपकी परिवार की भविष्य, आपके बच्चों की भविष्य भी आप इनके हाथ में सौंपेंगे का? बिना रोग लक्षण के, बिना कोई क्षति के क्या कोई टेस्ट किया जाएगा? बिना कोई रोग लक्षण, बिना कोई क्षति के आप कोई चिकित्सा लेने की प्राविधान आप करेंगे क्या? क्योंकि आपको सोचनी है, ये तमाशा जो भी हो रहा है, without any symptoms, you are being forced to get tested under the fear that there is something. What is that something? We have been demanding right from 2020. What is coronavirus? Did you isolate? What is there in the coronavirus? Without understanding coronavirus, how can you propose a medicine in the allopathic mode? What does that medicine contain? What does this corona contain, and what does that medicine contain? Remdesivir and all so many drugs. Why did WHO propose these drugs? Why central and state governments, including all political parties, their pampered media endorse it? Nuremberg Code is something. Tomorrow, everyone has to face the music. Then, what is the disease mortality fatality rate? 99.99% recovery on its own. You clearly stated that is by quarantine. Then for such a disease which has got 99.99% recovery on its own, proved out by all worldometer data and presented by Dr. Gautam Das and Mamta Banerjee and Kushwaha, so many others, why do you need a prevention? In the form of under trial, untested vaccines, with no liability and compensation. Even Supreme Court is keeping silent. They should have taken a cue from US federal judge. He said, come on, release all the data. And what does this contain? Virus contain, and what is this vaccines contain, and what are these medicines proposed for corona contain? Without understanding the contents, without understanding what virus is, contents of medicines and contents of vaccines, the courts are doing a trial. See how this is. And media is also doing a trial. And all Honorable Prime Minister and all the chief ministers, right from Indian Council of Medical Research, DCGI, they come out and say, this lockdown, use this vaccine, use that vaccine. And we are asking you, what does this vaccine contain, Prime Minister Ji? Is it not cow blood, calf blood in Covaxin, chimpanzee cells in Covishield, dead fetal cells in all other vaccines, along with dangerous substances like aluminium or graphene oxide, which they are stating? Is it not true? Why are you not making the contents clear? Under trial, you have candidate vaccine and placebo. Because people started to become aware, are you not proposing placebo, and that is also affecting our economy? That is why we demand, what does these vaccines contain? And why do you need a vaccine now? Entire world now. People are going around, they are happy. Now all of a sudden, from where this virus comes, did you isolate virus? Different strains, don't you think this virus will become endemic and people have got natural immunity? And are they finishing this natural immunity? Take the study of Israel. Everywhere, it is very open. Is it not a fact that those vaccinated are being hospitalized? So सोचिए, आप जानकार हो जाइए, नागरिक हमने डॉक्टर गौतम दास जी ने एक अच्छी सी आज आपके सामने लगाई है. आप सोचिए, आप जानकार हो जाइए, क्योंकि आपका स्वास्थ्य, आपका शरीर, आपका हक है. किसी को हक नहीं है. आप నిర్ణయం ले लीजिए. మీ శరీరం, మీ జీవితం మీ చేతుల్లో ఉంది. మీరు నిర్ణయం తీసుకోండి. సమాచారం మీకు అందిస్తా ఉన్నాం. మన శరీరం, యూరోప్ లో ఉండే శరీరం, అమెరికాలో ఉండే శరీరం, ఆఫ్రికాలో ఉండే శరీరం, అక్కడ వాతావరణం ఒక విధంగా ఉంటాయా? అక్కడ ఆహారం ఒక విధంగా ఉంటుందా? మనం జీవించే విధానం ఒక విధంగా ఉంటుందా? మరి అటువంటప్పుడు విధానం ఇవన్నీ వేరే ఉన్నప్పుడు ఒకే విధమైనటువంటి ఆరోగ్య ప్రణాళిక ఏ విధంగా మనకు వర్తిస్తుంది? ఇది ఎవరికి లాభం చేకూరుస్తుంది? अपना जिस्म तेलंगाना में और इंडिया में, भारत में डिफरेंट स्टेट्स में, डिफरेंट राज्यों में वातावरण कई डिफरेंट है. और जब यूरोप लेंगे, अमेरिका लेंगे, अफ्रीका, क्या ये वहां का वातावरण, शैली, लोगों की जीने की शैली, लोगों की खाने पीने की शैली, और लोगों जिस तरह चिकित्सा या निवारण की शैली, क्या ये पूरा डिफरेंट है या नहीं? तो ऐसे समय में एक ही कानून, एक ही प्रणाली का जो
डॉक्टर रेड्डी, आई विल साइन ऑफ नाउ.
या नहीं, वी आर साइनिंग ऑफ. एक ही प्रणाली का आप किस तरह लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं? ये किसके लाभ में? क्या हमारी हक, जीने का हक, हमारे स्वास्थ्य हमारे से छीना जा रहा है? निर्णय किसको लेनी है? आपको, हमको ही लेनी है. हमारी संविधान, और हम संविधान है. मनमे राज्यांगम, वी आर द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. So this decision has to be taken by ourselves in our own interest to safeguard our own children's future tomorrow. Your entire family, अंता कुटुंबम, आपके पूरे परिवार कल के दिन इस तरह की स्वास्थ्य के नाम पे आपके जिंदगी भी गुलाम बनने की बड़ी साजिश, क्या आप उसमें साजिश में शामिल होना चाहते, या सही समाचार लेके क्या आप निर्णय लेना चाहते? ये आपकी जिम्मा है. We leave it the decision to honorable citizens of India and the world. We have provided you the information. Decision left to you. మేము సమాచారం ఇచ్చాం, నిర్ణయం పౌరులదే. Thank you, Dr. Gautam Das. Once again, wonderful presentation. And for all the Indians, we say Sughanidra Shubharatri. For the world over, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wake up call for not just India, for Europe, America, and Africa, for entire world. This is a wake up call. In case if YouTube or Twitter try to block, we are going to send you the transcripts as we have done last time, and we will load it on all other platforms. As a citizen, responsible citizen, you also share this link. If YouTube tries to block, Twitter block, we are sharing you alternate link. Share it across the globe so that you understand whether what we are trying to present is true or not. Did WHO give you any scientific reason, any evidence on their website for whatever has been happening right from 2019 till this date, including vaccines, any information, including medicines, any information, why there is no liability and compensation, any information? If tuberculosis vaccine takes 100 years, and even still people are dying because of tuberculosis in spite of vaccination boosters, can just 2 months, 3 months old vaccines hold good, and that too for a disease which is 99.99% recovery on its own? Think and take a decision. Why for now? Support DRTSPR channels in larger public interest. DRTSPR channels, Citizens DRTSPR channel, Environment People DRTSPR channels, they all work in larger public interest. By issuing a flyer, we are making this show so that we have noticed the world and have tagged everyone, and so that they can send us a notice, And second, they can participate in our show if there is anything which they feel it is not appropriate, not as per rule of law, constitution or evidence act. We welcome them, but don't pull down the video, please, kindly. You are most welcome to participate. Even Dr. Gautam Das will be there to explain everything, and you should come out with legal evidences. We are there to host you also, because we love to discuss, debate, decide. That is democracy. Bye, sir.